Good morning and welcome to Sunday Soul Day. Hi, Oscar.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hi, Allie.
Hi, good morning.
We are thrilled to have Pastor Oscar Banks, who is also a certified life coach through the Jay Shetty Coaching Certification School. That's how he and I met. Welcome to the show. We are just so thrilled to have you today. So much to talk about. Can't wait to kind of dive in today. Would love the viewers to just learn a little bit more about you. So let's just kick it off by starting off with your background. Take us through your journey from Indianapolis to St. Petersburg, your experience in ministry and youth work over the past 20 years, which is just phenomenal.
Well, it was a dark and stormy night. No, I'm just playing that.
I love that.
So I was born August 9th, 1981, in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm the youngest of four. I've got two brothers ahead of me, and then my sister is the oldest. Raised by a powerful single mom who worked numerous jobs to make life happen. Um, uh, Really quick, short story before I jump fully in. So my mother actually lost a child before she had me. And one of her prayers was that, if God blesses her in this space, that she'd dedicate me to God, right? So my life's purpose and life's mission really was set out for me before I was even born. So that's an interesting little tidbit as we dive further.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
and so I was born and raised in Indianapolis, Indiana. Moved to St. Petersburg with my family by way of Texas in 2020, March of 2020. At the start of the pandemic, I started a new ministry here in St. Petersburg, Florida. And so, starting with no knowledge of how to pastor in a pandemic, what to do. Uh, we had worship services outside, and we were doing mission outside. We're serving people meals outside, and just trying to figure out how to do life in this new way, just like everybody else. And so now we're moving in good motion, and I wanted to take my purpose and my mission further, and so that's what got me into life coaching through the Jay Shetty program.
Wow. That's quite a journey. And now you worked with youth as well throughout. Like, tell us a little bit more about that and how you transitioned into coaching from there.
Yeah, so I always joke around with other people who I work with because I've been working with youth since I was a youth. I was in high school when I started my first job as a camp counselor, working with middle school students. So I'm almost 2 years removed from them, but so-called giving them leadership. And so I've been in that role my whole life of always kind of leading peers, even as a young person. And so the YMCA was my first space at working with youth at my church camp. I worked there with youth. I was a part of a mentoring program in Indianapolis where we worked with kids who needed a little after school assistance and mentorship. We would teach kids how to tie ties and how to iron their khakis and make them dress up on Fridays. And we would have lunch with them. And every Saturday we would have a leadership academy where those kids would come to one of the schools, and we would run them through some drills and really empower their minds to think better and to have a strong mindset. And what was interesting is that many of the fathers who would come to those workshops, they too would learn how to better deal with their boys and better deal with their child, because they sat and were participating in that mentorship program. Um, I also was a youth pastor, so I served in the church, leading kids, leading the youth choir, really empowering people to find their voice. I remember as a youth pastor, one of my staples was that we created a youth service where everything was led by youth. And when I got there, most of the things were led by youth except for the preaching. And so I would empower my high school juniors and seniors to step up and prepare a sermon. So by the end of the school year, we would have like 3 or 4 kids get up and actually, orate their faith and talk to people about their faith from that space. And that just built confidence. That built a strong faith within them to be able to stand in front of their peers and to actually teach their faith. And so I'm all about empowerment, and that all stemmed from a lot of my youth ministry stuff.
Yeah, no, I love it because you've just been of service your whole life, and it really transitions so nicely into the life coaching and really empowerment of not just youth but adults. So I just love that your journey was kind of set in stone from your mother from starting off, and then you kind of transitioned into it naturally, and it feels so natural to you, and the impact. I just, the impact that you're having with youth and so many people that you're able to touch through your ministry. And then now, life coaching is just phenomenal.
Yeah. I love it. And some people would say, well, why do life coaching if you're already, pastoring, you're already, empowering people in that way. And the thing that we have to be real about is that the church has done a lot to cause harm. And there are a lot of people who, when they hear about something of the church or hear about something of God, it brings up a past pain point. And so what I love to do on through my social media and through my life coaching is just give general messages, universal messages that, they may stem from my faith, but at the same time, they're rooted in truth. They're rooted in the hearts of people. And my goal is just to unearth what you already believe. I'm not trying to give you something new. I'm just pulling out what's already inside of you, the knowledge, the wisdom, the love that's already there. But because of the experiences that we've experienced in life, I believe life coaching allows me to just touch more people to do that work, to spread love and make love go viral in this world. So.
Wow. Hi, Oscar. Thank you for touching on the harm that some churches have caused. As a licensed therapist, I have clients who will come to me more often than one would expect with religious trauma. And I help them to separate spirituality from religion or the religion they grew up in, and to help them move in the direction towards love and away from fear, away from the judgments of human, and to get rooted in their spirituality and to understand that God or the higher power they believe in, it isn't there to cause harm. So thank you for touching on that. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about you as a life coach. How did you become interested in life coaching, and what motivates you to empower individuals from various walks of life?
Yeah, so what I do naturally, and this even in my friend circles, is I'm always trying to, inspire somebody, impact somebody, or even challenging people in their thought processes. And so instead of just doing it from a Christian standpoint in the pulpit, life coaching allows me to do that across the board. Because once again, I truly believe, even in my faith, that we're not called to be life and to give life to one group of people. We're called to be life and give life to the world. And so taking that message and being able to touch people beyond the 4 walls was inspiring to me. And then when I, came across Jay Shetty, even before I knew anything about his coaching program, his message just resonated. because it was about love and it was about who people really are, and really tapping into the humanity of who we are. And that resonates with my message from when I first started preaching my first sermon, is that all of us are rooted in love. All of us are created by love and for love and to love. But what happens is that we just experience so many things in life that cause us to build a callus over our heart and build a callus in our thinking. And so once again, my goal in life coaching, and what inspires me to become a life coach, is I want to continue to unearth the love that is within each human, be it man or woman, a group of adults or a group of children. I want to make sure that I'm inspiring them to reach inside of who they were created to be, and then to live that out in the world.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's amazing to see that your work as a life coach and your work as a minister, how they come together. It's really beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oscar,
thank you.
Yeah, no, and I was so curious, like, during that kind of transition, like, were you experiencing anything, personal during that time that, because when I've talked to a lot of coaches, they have been going through a transition to live more for themselves. And it's such a beautiful transition of taking, of what you had before going into life coaching and then kind of experiencing something. Was that similar, for you as well?
No, life has just been so easy. No, I'm just playing. Life
I
has
love
not been
it.
easy.
I
Life
love it.
life in many ways has sucked. You know what I mean? Life in many ways has just been unbearable. But so years ago, maybe about 6, 7 years ago, I started my own personal journey through therapy. I went through some dark times and some hard times in my personal life and in my marriage. And so being in therapy really helped me to fine tune me. You think about a car, right? You can't just buy a car, drive it off the lot, and just drive that car for years and think you're not going to have problems. You got to take it in and get the oil changed. You got to get the tires rotated. You got to change the tires. You got to check the transmission and get that checkup and get all these things done to the car. But we don't do that to ourselves. And I got into a place to where I'm just running my engine and never really checking me. And what therapy did for me was that it really did unearth in me that I've been living my life so much for other people and their desires for me, their hopes and dreams for me, that I stopped dreaming for myself and I stopped living for my purpose and my passion. During this pandemic, a lot of people went through major transitions in their relationship, and I'm like one of them. In this pandemic, me and my ex, we decided that it wasn't working. And anybody who's gone through divorce, that is a hard space.
Yes.
But
Both
instead
and
of
I have been through divorces, so we
okay.
understand.
So instead of me going into a place to where I'm just, going to be insulary and self hurting and just going into depression, I decided that I was going to use this time of loneliness to dive into things that would inspire me. So I learned to play the piano.
Yeah.
I'm learning Spanish, and that's when it hit me that, okay, you're preaching, you're inspiring people, you're doing social justice work in the community, you're impacting in that way. That's really awesome. But there's got to be something else. And that's where I said, okay, cool. Life coaching is it, like where I can really impact people who are going through life. And oftentimes we think that we're going through it alone. Right? We look at everybody else around us. We watch their social media stuff and how they're smiling and laughing and drinking and having a great time. And we're thinking, there's nobody out there like me. there's nobody out there struggling like I'm struggling.
Yeah.
And so in life coaching, I'm able to channel my purpose, my pain, my issues that I've experienced and that I've gone through, and I'm able to inspire somebody else to become a better version of themselves. And so I love coaching for that reason. And yes, it came from my pain. It came from what I've experienced. I always tell my people that I pastor, I've already done the science experiment on myself. and so now, as I grow, as I develop, my hope is to help other people do their own experiments on themselves, so that they too can grow through the pain, grow through their problems, and grow towards their purpose.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, Oscar. And you're so right. Like it's been, when I look at the transition of even myself, going into coaching, it's such a journey, and we're all experimenting and learning and, trying different things. I love that you're picking up, new things like piano and Spanish. I'm actually starting to learn Spanish as well. So I love that, and it's really so wonderful to see you living your life for yourself. And, as a Black man, to even recognize that you needed to go to therapy and seek help is so huge. And I think just you sharing is going to help so many people kind of normalize that, because we all need support. We can't do this on our own. Like we're put on this earth to love and to be loved and to be community for one another. And so I love that you shared that.
Yeah, but I'll be 100% real with you, right? I didn't want to go to therapy.
Yeah.
I didn't think I needed therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what are you talking about? Like I'm good. Like everything that I'm doing for other people. So I'm not selfish. I'm not self-centered, blah, 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 blah. Right. But what I learned in therapy is that that's also not healthy. Like, a lot of times it's doing the things that we don't want to do that we get the most out of. So yeah, you may think just like I did, I don't need therapy. But then when I went, and then he was able to really walk me through and really hold up the mirror so that I could really see myself. Then those things are revealed. So I want to make sure that people understand that it's not because I was just so this enlightened man that I just opened myself up to therapy. No, my very first session, I told the guy, I said, I really don't need to do this. I'm doing this because she wanted me to.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. My heart goes out to you, Oscar, because you're saying the things so many people bring up and are going to benefit from hearing. Everything from not wanting to do therapy to thinking you don't need therapy and you came for someone else, but you stayed for yourself, right? And just talking about pain. I always talk about pain being the motivator of change, right? And pain is mandatory, right? Suffering's optional. Pain is mandatory. And it's such a blessing because it helps us to change and then to be that example for other people, because we've now gone through it. We've developed a greater sense of empathy, and we want to help other people to go give them their pain, let them walk through it, but help to prevent as much suffering as possible. Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing all of these things, because like I said, it's going to help so many people. And just like Demisha brought up, I've been through divorce as well. And it really does just rock your world. And you feel like you're alone. You feel a sense of shame, and that somehow you failed and you're starting over again. And when you had touched on people's social media, or we see their highlight reel, or we see what the performance they put on the outside, and we don't realize that everyone's going through something. And for us to be able to be vocal about it is so important, because then it allows others to say, hey, yeah, I'm going through something too. I don't have to be perfect. So thank you for all of that. And so I wanted to ask you, it's evident that you're actively engaged in your community. Can you tell us about some of the community projects or initiatives that you've been involved in and the impact they've had?
Yeah, so I guess in the community, I would fold on two different things. One is very active at the school that's close to the church. I generally go and I'll do speeches and motivational talks with different grade levels and really just empower the kids to think. And what I always say is make the mindset shift. Even as a third grader, you can still control your thought processes. You can still control your words. You can still control your behavior. But I help them to see that there's a process, right? You have to control your thoughts because your thoughts give birth to your words. You got to control your words because your words give birth to your actions. You control your actions because your actions give birth to your habits. You control your habits because your habits give birth to your character. And you control your character because your character will give birth to your destiny. And so if I can get them to first take hold of those thoughts and to think more positively about themselves and the people and the world around them, then they'll have a better, more positive destiny. So that's what I do as far as empowering in the school system. But I'm also co-chair of a social justice organization here in the city called FAST, which is Faith in Action for Strength Together. And what we do is we hold public officials accountable to solve the issues that are impacting our immediate world. You know, the cost of housing is crazy all over. And so we're working with our government officials locally to solve that issue. Clean water is a major issue. So we're working with our government officials on that. Criminal justice reform within our county and city. I'm the co-chair of that group. So we're working with our government officials there. And so that's the impact that I'm having on that end, as well as with the school and doing some mentoring through my fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi, Fraternity Incorporated here in the city. And so, so we're just doing a lot of different things, but they're all about having impact, immediate impact on the lives of people.
Wow. Thank you for sharing about what you do one-on-one with the people you work with and how it's similar to kind of what we do with cognitive behavioral therapy, working on thoughts, feelings, and actions and how they all impact each other. And then all that you're doing in the community. Such great work. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't realize that you were working with FAST. That's awesome. I had no idea. That's so wonderful. I wanted to touch a little bit on, tell me about some of the lessons that you've carried forward and that have served you, because I can imagine coming from a single mom, she probably instilled some great values in you for you to go through your journey the way that you have. What are some of those lessons that you can share?
Yeah. So I guess if you don't mind, I'll do both. Good lessons, because that's one of the things that I do as far as mindset coaching. Things that we were taught as kids that may have been good for the season, but were horrible. You know, were horrible for us to take into our future. And I'll share one of those horrible ones first, where we tell young boys that happy wife equals happy life, right? And so as a young boy, you grow up with this mindset that I've got to please this woman. I've got to make her happy. And all these things. That's not life. That's not life. And it's not healthy. And so what I encourage, especially my young men, is yo, happy spouse, happy house.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not in control of anyone's happiness. All you can do is be in control of your thoughts and your happiness and take control of your joy, and then provide spaces that other person can either be happy or not. But that's on them. You're not in control of their happiness. And so that's one of those lessons that I had to just rip the Band-Aid off and recognize that it was not good. One of the major pieces that I took from growing up wasn't really something someone said, but my grandmother, Ruth Banks, man, she was one of those people who, through action, loved unconditionally. She was one of those people that if you showed up to her house, no matter what time it was, she made sure that if you needed food, you were taken care of. If you needed somewhere to sleep, you were taken care of. And so I've taken that spirit of openness and hospitality into everything I do. And so I'm not closed-minded on almost anything. I don't cast out anybody. To me, I believe everybody can be redeemed. Everybody can deserves love. Everybody deserves a chance to be their best self. Um, Now, does that come with also setting limits and boundaries? Yes. You have to healthily help people. Um, uh, but but her spirit of love, her spirit of seeing the humanity in everybody, even people who make mistakes, to me is something that I've taken into my entire life, into everything that I do. So those would be my.
Yeah.
I love them. Especially the second lesson. That is just so beautiful. And it seems like you're such a 10-gallon full person, as TD Jake says, full of love, and so I love that you were given that lesson. But the first lesson, I could not agree with you more. And I think it is the wrong messaging going into marriage, because it really tells men that they don't matter. It's sending that message that your feelings, like your happiness doesn't matter. And that is the furthest thing from the truth. I really do think that it's important for people to get that before they go into marriage, or any relationship, really, any friendship, any type of relationship, because your joy and happiness needs to come from you. Now, the other person can contribute to your happiness and add joyful moments and experiences and create memories, but you have to, it starts within. If you're not happy within yourself, there's nothing externally or anything that your partner can do to make you happy. So love those lessons. Thank you so much for sharing.
Demisha, I couldn't have said it any better, what you just shared. And I just wanted to quickly touch on what we teach as the in kind of the recovery model, 12-step programs, or in therapy, we talk about the relationship hierarchy. So that starts with your relationship with God, or something greater than yourself, then your relationship with yourself, like what Demisha just explained. And then what you have inside. Two people come together and then they build a relationship with each other, and that prevents codependency. It's more of an interdependence, right? It's a loving relationship with two equal partners. I love that you brought up the happy wife, happy life saying, because it still goes around, and it really should be about equality. So thank you for touching on that. And then I wanted to briefly bring up what you shared about what you were taught about mistakes and perfection, because I think, and even myself, in your presence, I feel a little intimidated that, oh, I'm supposed to be, perfect, or carry myself as if I'm perfect. And I'm like, why am I feeling so nervous today? Because that was the messaging we were taught, is that pastors, ministers are just like God. And the fact that you're bringing up your humanness is so important, because what I see is too many people thinking they have to be perfect, so they end up being fake or inauthentic, because perfection is impossible. There was only one perfect being, and it ain't us. So thank you for bringing that up. And then I wanted to ask you about, so you've spoken at various events, including open convocations for school districts, youth camps, and conferences. Could you share a memorable speaking experience or a message that had a significant impact on your audience?
Yeah, and it goes right along with that whole imperfection thing. So in Texas, I was able to speak at a men's camp, where they would take men out into like the sticks of Texas, into like farmland, and do various trials and learn how to build fires and, teamwork and stuff like that. And one of the major pieces was the fact that many men are walking around with this mindset that they have to be perfect. That as a man you can't falter because your child is going to falter and die if you make a mistake. But the thing that I was able to impact these men with was the fact that you're not supposed to be perfect, but every day you should be perfecting. Mm-hmm. Every day you should be moving towards your purpose and operating in your purpose. And recognizing that just because you started out with this purpose today, that doesn't mean that's going to be your purpose next year. And so it's also okay to audible. It's also okay to transition. Anybody who's ever heard me speak at all, I'm extremely transparent. I left ministry for a while, and when I was coming back into ministry, I'm about to get real spiritual here. I had a conversation with God, had a real conversation with God, and I was like, "Hey, okay, cool. If I come back to ministry, I'm coming back the way I am. I'm talking the way I talk, speaking the way I speak, dressing the way I dress. I'm not changing anything for anybody. I'm just going to be who I am." And that's where I've been. And there are people who like it, and there are people who don't. Yeah. And my thing is, if you don't like me being me, then you don't like me. And so I'm good with that. That's on you. But for me, in order for me to operate in a healthy space, in a place that I can impact people on a real level, is being real. And that means saying when I make mistakes as a leader. Yeah. Being like, "Oh, you know what, guys, I was wrong. Y'all, you were right on that. Let's go with that. Let's go with that plan." Being completely open and honest and transparent is not weakness. Mm-hmm. It's strength. It shows weakness to have to hide behind religious rote. It shows weakness to hide behind veiled leadership. But it's true strength to be able to say, these are my weaknesses. Here are the areas that I'm not the strongest in. And this is why I place certain people around me. Yeah. And so I'm very open with that. And I was able to be open with those men about my frailties, my faults. We were able to see breakthrough. When you see men who are, generally stone-faced, have to put on this strong persona. Yes. With their hands lifted and tears running down their face and on their knees. And, to me, that's powerful. Because you're not only just impacting that man, you're now impacting a community. You're impacting a family. And so that's why I one of the angles that I do in my coaching is a thing called mentality, capital MEN tality, because I'm wanting men to alter how we think, so that we're not thinking, that old domineering way, but we're thinking how to be real men, how to be open men, how to be encouraging and empowering and loving men. It's okay to hug your son. It's okay to give them a kiss. It's okay to let people know that you love them, not just when they're about to die, but just when you're about to leave out the room, when you're leaving the house. Yo, bro, I love you, bro. All right, love you too, man. Like, it's okay for us to care for people and not just go to a job and make money, and that's how we show we care. No, I got to show you I care. For when you're broken, I'm there to help you out. When you're celebrating, I'm there to celebrate with you. When you're crying, I'm there to be with you. And so that's another part of my focus, is really to help men to tap into their true nature as well. We say men are not nurturers. That's bogus and bull, right? So you're telling me that a man can plant a garden and nourish a garden, but he can't nurture his son, his daughter? That's just not right. Men and women are both designed to be nurturers. We're all designed to take care of things, and so my hope is to inspire men to embrace their true nature as well.
Wow, thank you. I just am so blown away with your response, and your just sharing how you had said, if I come back into ministry, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to be authentic. What a powerful example to so many people, and just what a weight off of you to just come as you are and be yourself. And I can totally relate. As a therapist, people come in and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry I cussed. Or, in the beginning, I would dress in my caring therapist sweater. That's what some of my friends and I joke about. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to be me. I'm going to relate. I'll bring up some self-disclosures as it relates to them. And they always say to me, you know what? I just love that you meet me where I'm at and you're real and you don't carry yourself like you're above me with letters after your name. And it really helps me to be myself. And I think we, all three of us we are able to inspire so many people and connect to so many people because we are just ourselves. And we don't put ourselves on a soapbox or that we're better than anyone else. And I think, and trust me, I have been that person in the past where I would put myself as if I'm above or below others.
Me too. Yeah.
And when we have esteem, when we've worked on ourselves, when we're working towards our purpose and we have God in us, right? That love, it shows because we don't have to try anymore. We just are.
Yeah. And it's not even beneficial, right?
No.
So if you meet me at Walmart and I invite you to come and hear me speak somewhere, and then you see me there and I'm a completely different person, I've lost my impact, right? It's always tell my people, hey, yo, I want to be the same person at Walmart that I am in the pulpit. Same person in the pulpit that I am when we go golfing. Same person we go golfing that I am when we're chilling on the beach. I want to be the same person because then that's real and that's impact. And so, yeah, I'm like you. I let go of, I got a whole drawer full of ties. And I don't know when the last time I've worn a tie.
I love
because
that.
I live in Florida. It's hot. I'm sweating. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be in a suit and tie and all those things because it's just not real for me. Is there a time and a place for a tie and a suit? Yes. But I'm not just going to put it on every day because it's going to make somebody take me more serious.
Right.
I'm going to let my work and my words make you take me serious. And I'm going to love you through it.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that, Oscar. And it's so interesting because we had a gentleman on a couple episodes ago, Pedro M. Frias, who talked about authenticity in everything that you do. And it doesn't matter whether you're a pastor, whether you're a coach, whether you're, he's running a marketing agency. The authenticity is so huge. And I think so many people are so afraid to be themselves, and to show up as their full selves for just fear of judgment from others. It's a lot of times it's not even them, like they're just so afraid of what others think. And so I just love that you created that space for yourself, to just say, you know what, like I gotta do me. And the mentality that you created, like for men, that is just phenomenal. And I think you're really creating that space for men to really show their loving sides, because a lot of men, and I'm sure at some point in your life you were told this too. It's like told not to cry, told not to show their feelings, told not to, to love fully, and oh, you're weak or whatever. And it's like that is the furthest thing from the truth, and so the fact that you're creating that space is so beautiful. On a personal, kind of note, like what keeps you motivated? What keeps you inspired to just keep doing these things, like coaching, ministry, working with youth, and all the things that you're doing in the community?
I think what keeps me motivated and going is that I'm not done. And as long as new things are coming to my mind, as long as new things are being pressed in my heart, my spirit, I got something to do. And I'm moving. But once again, let's be fully transparent. There are days that I wake up and I'm not motivated at all to do anything. And I'm like, man, I'm just about to go through the motions in this day. But I have to remember that there's a bigger picture. And one thing that I was never good at was taking that day nonstop, 12 hours a day, working, doing something, being productive. And it's only recent that I've learned that I've got to breathe. Um, there's a young lady that I'm dating right now, and she's challenged me to get a pedicure once a month.
That's
I'm like, what do I need a pedicure? Like, what do I need a pedicure for?
Is she trying
and
to
then,
tell you something, Oscar? Is she trying to tell you
yeah,
something
she
about your
is
feet?
because my dog, hey, my dogs are real, and so, so she, you know, so she also, but it's called self love, and I'm big enough to know, okay, cool. Let me get my dogs in properly taken care of, but at the same time, it is self love. It is taking care of me. Um, uh, there's so much healing that comes into taking care of yourself, that oftentimes we forego because it's not my thing, or it's not man enough, or I don't want to seem lazy by going and sitting in a chair and letting somebody take care of me. Um, that stuff is important. Taking a day off is important. Going and seeing a movie is important. Going and having lunch by yourself is important. Like it's really important. I'm learning now uh, to fully embrace those days, and so I'm grateful for the people in my life who have encouraged and empowered me to do just that. And so uh, I'm gonna keep doing it now. It's a part of who I am.
I love it. And good job for her encouraging you. I think my mom had to do the same with my dad. He played 11 years of professional football, so his dogs were jacked up. So I love it. Well, I would love to learn just one of the questions we ask everyone is how do you fuel your mind, body, and soul? Like how do you keep doing this? Like you mentioned some of the things, taking a day off and doing that, but what are some other things that you do to kind of fuel yourself up?
Yeah. So your cup can never be empty if you're always pouring. And so even if I'm taking a walk, there are some days, as my therapist challenged me, some days I turn off. I don't have my in-ears in. I'm just in the atmosphere and looking at trees. But majority of the time, I'm constantly filling myself up with positivity. I'm constantly listening, keeping my ear to the ground of what people are listening to and what people are saying, what's empowering and what's disempowering that maybe needs to be spoken to. And so I'm just constantly in that space. I pay attention to the news, but I'm very intentional about what I watch and what I read. Um, but the majority of my time is spent on other people who are in the vein of empowerment. Tony Robbins and Jay Shetty and Les Brown. I'm constantly just listening to these great minds and what they're saying to people and how they're even speaking into this generation. And then because I also speak to even younger people, I try to figure out, okay, well, how can I take that message and make it relate to a third grader? How can I take that big message and make it relate to a first grader in a 2-minute little empowerment speech? And so I'm constantly working to better my craft, to sharpen my ear, to sharpen my mind. And I guess that's what really keeps me going because my pencil stays sharp. It doesn't. I don't let it go get dull. So I can always be on top.
Love that. And you hit so many things there, and it's so true. Like staying sharp within ourselves, like that's what keeps us going, and really pouring into our mind, body, and soul, and even stepping out. I love that you talked about, being in trees and nature and stuff, like just, surrounding yourself with that, and not like staying in the business all the time, like sometimes you have to step out of it to get perspective, and so I love that you're doing that. And meeting children where they are is such a important gift in what you're doing and the messaging. Like, love that you're even so thoughtful like that. Because I do think sometimes, like, I remember being a child and hearing messages, and I'm like, that is so far from my understanding, of, and I know that the person that may have been trying to give the message had good intention, but they weren't working on themselves to be able to meet children where they were. So, you have like assembly and there's like guest speakers and you're like, what are they talking about, so I love that you're so aware of that and constantly working on yourself. So thank you so much for answering that.
Oscar, one of the ways I feel my soul is through laughter and humor. So thank you. I'm just cracking up about the two of you talking about toes as dogs. And oh my gosh, thank you. My cup is full. I just love to laugh. And this has just been such a fun interview with you. So thank you. So you mentioned Jay Shetty, Tony Robbins. I want to know any books or podcast recommendations that have been instrumental in your journey that you can share with our viewers.
Yeah. So it's weird. I'm reading or listening to right now on Audible. There's HBR's 10 must reads on managing yourself. And so it's not the individual books on managing yourself, but it's snippets about what those books are about. And it's been eye-opening. Like it's a short 2-hour listen, but I've been listening to it and taking notes for like maybe a week and a half, because it's just so powerful. Matter of fact, let me Matthew McConaughey, he has a book out. What is it called? Green Lights.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Green Lights. That book just it enlivened me so much. So I encourage people to go out, read or listen to that book. And then the last one that I just finished was one by Gary Bishop, Do the Work. And so those are most recently the books that really kind of hit me the hardest on just mindset, taking I guess looking at your life and really looking at what you've gone through and how you can utilize that in what you do. Looking at your leadership style, thinking about those who are serving under you. How do they see you as a leader? Are you managing yourself? Many of us, when we're in these kind of businesses, it's hard to have accountability, right? And so what I've done is create my own accountability circles of people who can truly speak life into me and truly tell me the truth about, okay, where am I leading? Where are my faults? What are my strengths? Because I can be wise in my own eyes, but there's a special thing that says to be wise in your own eyes is to be a fool. And so I don't want to just be wise in my own eyes. I want to be wise in the eyes of those who are with me, who can sharpen me and tell me, hey, watch that area, check yourself. And so reading those books and listening to those audiobooks really has impacted my leadership in ways that I can't even fully articulate.
Yeah. Thank you for those recommendations. And I couldn't agree more about the accountability circles. I too have accountability circles that help keep me in my alignment. And I also have an accountability checklist that I do every single day that helps me to stay in alignment with myself and my higher purpose. So what are your aspirations and future plans in terms of coaching, ministry, or any other areas you'd like to explore in the coming years?
And so in this, actually the next few months, I really want to focus more on the business side of it. I've really been focusing on, as they say, building your talk and building brand and getting my name, my face, my voice out there, which has been good. But now it's time to build kind of those those stability and sustainability pieces that will really take the business side to that next level. And so I think I've sharpened my talks. I've got about a good 4 or 5 different talks that I'm working on to perfect in order to then take those to different schools and different companies and really shop those out. Also building up my social media stuff and really getting out there to really impact people beyond what I would even know with the gift that's within me. So the next year is really just building upon the structure and the stability and those pieces that will really catapult everything else that I do.
Thank you, Oscar. It was so nice meeting you today and getting a chance to interview you, and best of luck with everything that you do. I know you're going to do such great things. You already have.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you, Demisha. This has been amazing. It's been a great conversation, great connecting and seeing what the future is going to hold for Sunday Soul Day.
Thank you so much. And I just have to share this, my personal experience getting coached by Oscar. I had the privilege of getting coached by him during our time at the Jay Shetty Coaching Certification School, and he is phenomenal. So if anyone is looking for a coach, I definitely recommend reaching out because he helped me navigate through some things, and I am so grateful. So I just wanted to shout you out. You know how much I appreciate you. So thank you again. You've been a phenomenal guest. You fueled my soul with laughter, like Ali said, and just all the gems that you dropped today are just going to help so many people. Oscar, just so grateful for you sharing your story, your journey, and I know that you'll continue to have impact. I do have one takeaway for our guest, and would love for them to comment below. Oscar kind of mentioned having an accountability circle. Who's in your accountability circle? Would love to learn, like, who holds you accountable? Please comment below, and thank you so much for tuning in on Sunday Soul Day. Bye.